All right, what is up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Help Me Understand podcast. I'm your host, JK, and we are kicking off episode number 182 of Help Me Understand. Before getting into today's episode to talk about how you can be the best possible workout accountability partner for your friend, your family member, some random person that you met that you've just decided we're going to be workout buddies using what I'm going to call the buddy system. I first want to say thank you for choosing to press play on Help Me Understand. You certainly have no shortage of podcasts that you can either listen to and or watch, depending on how you're consuming this particular one. And I truly never take it for granted that you chose to press play on Help Me Understand. I am going to ask for one favor, one simple thing in return. Please take a moment to leave a comment, rating, and or review in some way, shape, or form, depending on the platform that you're listening to this or watching this on. Different ways that you can do it. That helps me in two ways. One, it helps me get an understanding for whether or not people are listening and or watching. And two, it helps me understand from your perspective what you do or don't like, agree, enjoy, whatever it may be about the podcast itself. And last but certainly not least, along the lines of feedback and perspective about particular episodes, starting this year, I am including a Google form in the show notes where you can submit specific questions and or ideas for topics. So make sure to peep the show notes where you can submit that. There is the option to submit that anonymously. So just a heads up on that. All right. So let's get into this today. So I want to share with you the buddy system. And I specifically called it the buddy system for two reasons. One, it was super easy to just name it the buddy system. And two, it got my brain spinning, or no, that's not the way that goes. It got the wheels spinning and things circulating around my brain around different ways to use the word buddy, B.U.D.D.Y.Y, as an acronym. So some of these might feel like a little bit of a stretch as far as how I named them. However, as my grandfather used to say, I think they'll still make sense. So I will, as usually I do, give you some context into where this is coming from. So having been in a number of different gyms over the past week or so based on travel and a couple of other things going on, I have been blessed with the ability to make more observations than usual about what seems to be consistent in the things that I'm seeing inside of the gym at this time of the year. At the time of this particular recording and release, it will be Friday, January 10th, 2025. So we are at the beginning of the calendar year, generally accepted as a time where folks are re-engaging, refreshing their commitment to the gym in some way, shape, or form. And I am 100% here for it. So something that I've been observing as of late, again, within the past week or so, based on travel and being in a bunch of different states and different gyms across those states, has been folks that are coming in and working out with a workout partner. Now, I'm specifically here going to be talking about suggestions that I have from my perspective as a coach and a personal trainer with how you can show up as the best possible gym accountability or workout accountability. It doesn't have to be inside of a gym. So just workout accountability partner for your friend. So this is assuming that neither one of you is a certified personal trainer training the other person. So I'm putting that to the side, understanding that my perspective is as a coach and as a personal trainer. So I will be mostly transparent here that a catalyst for doing this particular episode is not just based on the observations that I've made. It's also based on my own personal experience throughout the years as someone that from time to time has been that gym accountability buddy, and vice versa has also needed and wanted a gym accountability buddy. Now, these days, I am more than fine training by myself. I am someone that typically enjoys training by myself in a gym setting. So if I have my preference, I'm in a gym where I'm among other people that are putting in the work. So to me, I find that to be extremely helpful at this point in my fitness and health journey, to be around other people. However, not necessarily depending on other people for the workouts themselves, if that makes any sense. So basically, like, the social aspect of being inside of a gym is not high on my priority list. It's really more just being in the particular environment. I just really enjoy that. And I've found that to be the case for a number of years now. So, all right, let's get into let's get into the buddy system. So the buddy system, it's B.U.D.D.Y. So I will run through really quickly what those, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 6 things are. It's spelled buddy, B.U.D.D.Y. So B is be on time. U is use the resources that you have available. D is don't talk during the working sets. The other D is document your progress. And then the Y, I've actually got 2 underneath Y. So I don't know if we're going to end up spelling this B-U-D-D-Y-Y or just it's Y squared. I don't know. We'll see. The Y stands for you versus you, and you can do this. So let's break each one of these down. So first, B is for be on time. In order for you to be the best workout accountability partner in 2025 and well beyond, because hopefully somebody's listening to this later in the future, I strongly recommend that you are someone who's going to be on time. Be at the gym, be at their house, whatever the case may be, wherever you're meeting up. If you're meeting up at class together, be on time. So an example would be something along the lines of, you're always the friend that runs 15 to 20 minutes late for everything. Don't be that person when it comes to this. Also, be specific around the time that you are going to meet up. So let's say that you're going to be meeting up at the gym. It's not specifically for a class. You're going to be meeting at a commercial, like big box type gym or whatever the case may be. So it's something where you both have memberships, you sign in and all that good stuff. So instead of saying, I'll meet you at the gym around 5 o'clock, be specific. I'll meet you at the gym at 5 o'clock. Or if it's an after work sort of thing, because sometimes, maybe the time is a little bit flexible as far as knowing exactly when you can get out. Maybe there's a, hey, I'll meet you as soon as I drop the kids off. Still provide a time frame. I'll meet you no later than 5:30, 5:15 to 5:30, or 6 to 6:30. My reason for stressing that right off the bat, and even though I didn't necessarily put these in a specific order, I do definitely think that they can go in order, somewhat in order of importance, but I'm willing to be flexible on that. But for the sake of making it something that can be easy to remember, I figured just keep it in the order of the letters. So one of the reasons that I really stress this particular point right off the bat is when it comes to having a gym buddy or a workout partner, that additional piece that helps from an accountability standpoint is to make sure that there is some sort of framework, some sort of a structure. This is actually going to come into play with the next in the use resources, some sort of an actual schedule that you've got going on here. So if you've listened to some previous episodes where I am more than certain that I've mentioned different keys to being consistent with your training, just you yourself, your training, not even talking about being a great workout buddy. One of the strong recommends that I will give folks is take a look at your calendar ahead of time, knowing what your obligations already are, and then plug in your intended workout days, and even better, potentially the times too. So the same thing would go with if you're meeting up with a friend, coworker, whatever the case may be on time. So be on time. That's number 1, or that's the B. All right, next, moving into the U, which is use resources. So with this particular one, in order to be the best workout accountability partner that you can be, I strongly recommend that you and or the individual that you're going to be working out with, you actually have a plan when you walk in. So there's a couple of different scenarios that I often will encounter. And those two scenarios will be either you're both doing the same training plan or you're doing separate training plans. And I guess there's a third scenario. The third scenario is nobody's got a plan and you're just kind of wandering around. So first, let's get rid of the third scenario. The third scenario is, okay, we're specific. We're going to meet at 5:45 p.m. at, you know, everybody's ABC gym, whatever you want to call it. And we're specific around that. Okay, cool. Now, when you get there, what are you going to do? And the scenario that I want you to avoid is, hey, we'll start off by walking on the treadmill to warm up, or we'll work out on the ellipticals next to each other for about 5-10 minutes. And the conversation starts off with, okay, so what do you want to do today? Don't do that. Do the opposite of that. When you meet up, you've already got a plan that's in place. So when it comes to using your resources, now let's talk about a couple of different ways that I see those things best being executed. You can either be both doing the same program. So I know that with one of the group programs that I run, we've got a couple of folks who sometimes will meet up together in person and they're both doing my group program. So I think that can definitely be an option. I'm not specifically talking about my group program, even though I think it's pretty solid. Uh, Two people working off of the same overall program, an online program that maybe they've found, or they've been given a program by a personal trainer or a coach like myself, and they're both just working through that particular program. Whatever the case may be, then cool. If it's something that can make, I think where that can be an advantage is that you can play off of each other as far as rest periods and rest breaks. I think that can be absolutely fantastic because let's say that you start off with a shoulder press on a machine, then both people can just work off of each other on that particular machine, especially if you tend to go to the gym where times seem to be a bit more crowded, especially during this time of the year. Again, this episode's coming out in January. Nobody wants to be that person who's waiting for two people who are both doing the same workout, working on two separate, let's say like Smith machines. Like things are at a premium. So you can do your set, then your friend can do their set, then you switch off back and forth. Of course, cleaning your equipment in between sets, but that basically just puts in your built-in rest time. So that's a suggestion that I've got if you're both going to be doing the same programming. Now, if you're doing separate programming, a few different ways that you can execute that. Obviously, if it's completely separate programming, then maybe it's like hey, you're doing your set, I'm doing my set, and then we come back together and we talk after we've done, our 3 to 4 working sets, whatever the case may be on that. I would say that more often than not, both in the scenarios that I have personally been involved in, where I've been one of those people that's working out with a partner, or if I'm working with a client who has a friend that comes to the gym with them, basically those are the two scenarios. Or what I will observe, typically, if you're meeting up with somebody at the gym, more likely than not every scenario, but more likely than not, you're working out with that particular individual. So you're both, for the most part, doing the same workout. So again, use your resources. So if you've got access, make sure that you have your training plan ready to go. If you are unsure about particular movements, strongly recommend if your gym has an app that has workout videos in it or workout demos, use that. If the program that you're following has workout demos, which I believe that a solid workout program, whether it's a template or it's a one-on-one thing, that should have notes and or videos on how to execute the movement properly. I believe that that's just like a very basic human right that you should have when you are purchasing a workout program for the most part. So make sure that you're using the resources that you have available when you're going to be that accountability buddy. All right. So then moving on to the first D, this one potentially may be one of the most important ones, and that is don't talk during the working set. So this might be a precursor for a short rant, I might move through it pretty quickly. Here is what I will very often observe is conversation and all that good stuff, all good. And then when getting into the actual work itself, let's say you're doing 10 reps of a back squat or 10 reps of a leg press or 10 reps of anything. If you are able to continue, so you as the person who is working out is able to continue your conversation during your working set, man, I really hate to like give the David Goggins vibe here. And you're not working hard enough if you have the ability to carry on your conversation while you're executing the resistance training movement. You're just not. Oh, okay. We'll move past that particular soapbox there. So don't talk during the set. So as you are kind of having your back and forth, reserve your conversation for your rest periods as you're moving from one movement to the next movement, all that good stuff. So talk your heart out, tell jokes, show them stuff on the phone, that sort of a thing. When you're performing the movement, which I would say on average, to execute a movement on average is probably up to about 40-ish seconds, I would say. On average, like 40 to 50 seconds, even maybe, I would say is tops for the most part. And I'm talking, by the way, I don't know if I clarified this. I am specifically talking about, you're inside of a gym where you're using machines, free weights, things like that. Clearly, if you're at a CrossFit box or like Orange Theory or something like that, like time is of the essence, F45, like any sort of boot camp type stuff, like there clearly should not be a whole lot of conversation that's going on there. And I know that I may have some folks who are in settings like group fitness classes and things like that, where they're kind of there more for the social piece of things. As much as possible, try to have the social aspect of it be during the rest breaks, not during the actual movement itself. So don't talk during the set. Even if you feel like you have the best joke ever to tell or some salacious like hot tea from the day that just happened, and you got to make sure that your friend is in the know. They can be in the know after they finish that particular set. So this helps them stay focused and push the proper intensity that they need for the training. And I would say that based on my own experience, because I've been this person before too, based on my own experience, and then also with working with people for the better part of coming up on this year will be 10 years in the training space, this is likely one of the number one things that is standing in the way of people getting results is not training with the right amount of focus and intensity. And while having a gym buddy is helpful from so many different angles, including inspiration, motivation, and accountability, remember that if you want to be the best gym and workout accountability buddy that you can be, you also want to put that person in a position to execute the movements with the right amount of focus and intensity and proper form too. So just keep that in mind. So don't talk during the set. All right. The other D is to document progress. So there's a couple of things that come to mind with this particular one. One is probably going to seem pretty straightforward. The second one maybe is not going to seem as common. The first one with documenting progress and or progressions, I would say, is to ensure that one or both of you is responsible for writing down, hey, I did this many reps with this much weight. So whether you are following a program that has an app that came with it, if you're an old school pen and paper sort of person, or you're somewhere in between, this again goes back to using resources, have resources that are available for you. So if you are following a program, so you're not going into the gym just kind of willy-nilly figuring out like what you're going to do based on, this machine's open, let's go do that. Or the dreaded, like, well, we'll just walk down this row of machines and we'll just do like 2 sets of 15 to 30 reps of each of these things on the machine. For those of you who may be thinking that doesn't happen, it absolutely does happen. And I know this from my own personal observations and working with people who previously that's how they were training. And then we're wondering, like, man, it's hard to figure out a structure and different things like that, because they were just kind of wandering around the gym looking for something to do. And while I commend the consistency of showing up to the gym, you do reach a certain point where you're past the point of just kind of doing random things getting you results. Like you need to do something more specific to match the level of expectation that you have of the results that you're going to get. So anyways, back to documenting progress. So make sure that you are jotting down how much weight you're using, how many reps you're doing of specific things, and hold your partner accountable and responsible for doing that same thing. So a great system to get into is that maybe they're doing the movement and then you document it for them. So whether it's, they let you type in their phone, or if it's pen and paper and you can write it down, if there's somebody who, happens to, I don't know, get distracted easily, whatever the case may be. So definitely document those progressions. The other piece of this, or part 2 of document progress and progressions, is offer to video the set for them, or a set for them, so that they can see what they look like when they're executing the movement. As a coach and personal trainer who primarily focuses on the online space at this point in my career. Now, when I first started, I started exclusively in person. Then I moved to more of a 50-50 hybrid model. And now I'm like a 99.5 online and 0.5% in person. One of the major transitions that I needed to make was in my ability to really encourage people to send in form check videos so that we could get an understanding of how the movement was being executed. Because as obvious as this seems, it took me quite a while to really come to terms with the fact that, oh man, when I am working with somebody in person, I already have a built-in form check. I'm right there. So obviously, unless I completely suck as a trainer, then I am looking at the individual. I see them from different angles as they're performing the movement. Side note, if you're working with a trainer in person and they are always standing in the same spot to coach you, so they don't ever see different angles of you executing a movement. Like, let's say for a back squat, they're always standing directly in front of you and only in front of you. They never move to the side or behind you or anything like that. PS, in a non-creepy way, by the way. Then I would question if that particular individual is really dialed in, or as my son would say, locked in, to really helping you execute that movement the best way possible. So a transition that I needed to make, and was really encouraging people to periodically send form check videos. Now, I know that's something that when you're training by yourself, if you're in a larger gym setting, or just a gym setting, a public gym setting in general, many folks are uncomfortable with that. And while I do accept that people are uncomfortable with filming themselves inside of a public gym, especially if it's a gym that may have rules around that, or any sort of a thing, it is something to be aware of and strongly consider that when you are shifting to an online model, if you don't video yourself doing the movement, or have someone video it for you, which goes back to the second D in the B.U.D.Y.Y system, document the progress. If you don't have that, then your coach will not have the ability to give you the most accurate feedback possible as far as movement execution itself. So this is one of the things that can make it a huge positive to have a gym buddy, because you have somebody who can, hold the phone and video that set for you, and then maybe you don't feel like as much of a weirdo or anything like that. So that's the second D, to document progress and progressions. All right, and last on the list under Y, and this was the one, if you remember back to the beginning, where I had two different things under why. So the first one is you versus you. So uh, remember that even with going to the gym with a buddy and you're that accountability partner and all that good stuff, at the end of the day, your results are your results and your performance is based on your performance. And what I mean by that, you versus you, and your performance is based on your performance, is whether or not you outlifted your friend may or may not be the best indicator of your progress. And I will tell you, more often than not, in my experience, your performance compared to the person that you are going to the gym with is not going to be the best benchmark for you to use. I will completely agree that it can be helpful to have that push if both of you are around the same level of performance inside the gym. I'll just leave it at that, because I don't think that just because you're the same height or the same weight or have been lifting for the same amount of time, or you both of your names start with the letter R, I just made that up, that doesn't necessarily mean that your performance should be exactly where their performance is. Uh, everyone is individual. There are no two people that I have come across who are exactly the same in all things. Even twins are not exactly the same in all things. So, with that being said, what will be helpful is that if you're a gym buddy, sure, little razzing, a little bit of competition. Hey, I know you can push this a little bit further, a little bit of encouragement, which is more of the you can do this sort of thing, is cool. However, well, shoot, my lifts have been going up week over week. I don't know what your deal is, or vice versa. Like, man, I really suck at this because you've been able to increase weight on this movement that we've been doing for 3 weeks and I haven't. At the end of the day, it's you versus you. So focus on your results, even though you are there with your partner. And then the second part of the why in the buddy, B.U.D.D.Y.Y, Y squared, is you can do this. So be an encouragement for your partner. So that's what that stands for. So you can do this. Say that to your partner. Like, you've got this. You can do this. If you're going to be talking during the set, then those are the sorts of things that can be helpful. Is be an encouragement, be a inspiration, be a motivator. At the end of the day, you are not ultimately, I think that people understand, you're not ultimately responsible for that person's results. You're not their coach. You're not their trainer. You're not the person who is going to be held responsible for what they do or don't do. However, you can be that person that still encourages them. You can be that person who tries to give them a attaboy or attagirl or whatever the case may be. So just think that you can do this. Be encouraging. Be an encourager for your gym buddy. Okay. So I believe that's going to be everything that I've got on this particular one. So again, the buddy system, how you can be the best gym buddy in 2025 and beyond. We'll run through these one more time. Love to get your feedback on what you thought about this particular episode. So it's B, be on time. U, use resources. D, don't talk during the set. The other D, document progress and progressions. Then Y, it's you versus you. And the other part of that is you can do this. So be an encourager. All right. So with that, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Help Me Understand podcast, or watching it. If you're seeing this on YouTube, I definitely appreciate it. Again, if you could leave a rating and or a review, I would be forever thankful. So take care. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.